Every philosophy begins with a moment. Mine began with a promise that scared me actually. Not uncomfortable, not challenging, just scared. The kind of moment where your instinct says, slow down. When it says, be careful. When it says, protect yourself. And yet, something inside me just said yes. Imagine this. I'm on the 10th floor of the Mori Tower in Tokyo, glass boardroom, the silence, the precision of Japan, the pressure. And then across the table, the late Minoru Mori, the founder of Mori Building. Her man, he doesn't think in days. He thinks in decades. He thinks in vision. He's a visionary urban planner. And then what happened is, we're in that meeting, and he's got a prime space that had just been vacated. So empty spaces in Tokyo is just not neutral. It's a signal. It's a loss of energy, a loss of momentum, a loss of confidence. So at the time, we're about 10 in that room. He looks at me and he says, we need a cafe there, just to create like kind of that buzz or that entrance for that north side of Mori hospitality, the Mori retail space. So that was like a simple sentence, but huge, massive consequence. Then he added, without a stop, he said, it's Golden Week. Golden Week in May. It's always the big week in May where everything's, the whole Japan comes around and stays with the families, and it would be a very busy time for him in terms of retail space. So he said, Golden Week is in 7 days. 7 days, Christophe. I give you 7 days to open that cafe. And I was like, 7 days? I was kind of reacting and listening. I said to myself, in Japan, nothing opens in 7 days. Planning takes months. Execution is meticulous, especially in Japan. Perfection is expected. Then he said one more thing. He said, Christophe, when you think that you have 24 hours a day, I'm sure you can make it. And suddenly the whole room, literally the whole room, and much more senior people than me, my Japanese colleagues, the whole room turned to me waiting for what are we going to do? And I really it was really an internal conflict. I could feel it physically, and this kind of like 3 seconds felt like it was an hour. My breathing became tighter, my pulse kind of started rising. And then the silence in the whole room got super heavy. And inside my mind, I was going, should I promise this? What if we fail? Are we ready? So, the logical answers was obvious. It would have been to say, oh, could we have more time? Or say no. But then, how do I protect the brand? At the time I worked for Hyatt, and that was for Mori Building. How do I protect the team? How do I protect even myself? So I got really scared. And actually instead, I said yes. I said, yeah, let's do it. And at that moment, it's so weird. Everything changed. The energy in the room instantly shifted. The problem suddenly seemed to disappear. But the mindset, what was amazing was the mindset. It was no longer about, can we do it? It became, how are we going to do it as a team? And it was just amazing how people leaned forward during that meeting, which is not a usual practice in Japan. And the discussions became so much sharper, so much faster, so much more focused. That promise somehow, that I said yes, created that clarity. So it was really quite exciting of what had happened. So early in my career, I was taught something. Another was like old school hospitality, very logical, which is, you always have to be realistic. You have to manage expectation. Always do not overcommit. And yeah, on paper, all of this makes sense. Yeah, this is great. But the reality of life, the reality of business, playing safe creates kind of acceptable outcome, right? So it really creates memorable moments. So think of the best experiences you've ever had in your life, the ones you still talk about. They were not safe. They were bold. They were oftentimes stretched beyond what one could feel comfortable. So here, let me be clear. We were not ready. No team is ready to open a cafe, a full-fledged cafe with kitchen, with food, with service and drinks and all this. Even the design in 7 days in Tokyo, pretty much anywhere else. But something happened because of that very promise. Kind of the whole idea of, that Japanese perfectionism, I would call this literally disappeared. And we still, of course, wanted to do quality, but Instead, that clarity took over. So the decisions themselves became faster. The meetings that we had became shorter. The priority became ruthless. So every person that we knew, in the team knew exactly what mattered. And that really made such a difference. So that promise of saying yes straight away created a momentum. So when expectations are clear, people think differently. They just look at things differently. The creativity that comes just expands. The collaboration just intensifies. The problems stop being just like these obstacles. They start becoming more like a game, like you could relate this to a puzzle, right? Not too difficult one, but a puzzle. So I saw the people just shift from like kind of this hesitation to literally ownership. It shifted from kind of this doubt to that energy that was just so exciting. And because of the destination was clear, everyone went straight forward. And actually there's a beautiful book, and I'll share this also. I've got this beautiful picture of the cafe itself in the book of the life of late Minoru Mori that was shot by this incredible photographer called Sugimoto-san. But there is something so special that we don't talk enough. Literally the weight that there is on that leader at that time was me. But when leaders like this take this bold promise, it really creates pressure, and pressure reveals leadership. Not when things go well. When everything goes well, that's kind of, that's easy to ride. But when things start to break, and during that week, some of the things didn't work, because they will. So during those 6 days, the problems came constantly, delays, doubts, friction between the teams too, because, people wanted to do their own things. But in these moments, one thing became super clear. So once you make that promise, you have to protect it. You have just to go for it. And the team, they don't listen to what the leaders say as such. More importantly, they watch what the leaders do. So when things get super difficult, so the teams, they don't listen to what the leaders say. They watch what the leaders do. So when things get difficult, this is when the confidence, cracks at the top, and uncertainty spreads instantly. So if the leader stays steady and believes in and holds, that's when the promise feels stronger than the problem, and that is leadership. So what happened 6 days later? The cafe literally opened before Golden Week. The guests arrived, the space literally became alive, energy returned, momentum returned, and something important became very clear to me. Guests never saw the struggle, but they really felt the result. They felt surprise, they felt the delight, the excitement. They felt something that exceeded what they expected themselves. And that gap became expectation and reality. This is where loyalty truly lives. That was the moment a philosophy started to form for me. And that's overpromise and overdeliver. Overpromise and overdeliver. Not exaggeration, not ego, leadership. The promise creates clarity. Preparation, of course, with preparation, you will create confidence. And the delivery will create emotion. But there is a danger. Overpromising without vision creates chaos. Without preparation, it creates stress. Without culture, it creates inconsistency. This only works when people believe in the purpose behind the promise. Because people don't rise to pressure, they rise to the meaning. So before Tokyo, I believe leadership was all about managing risk. After Tokyo, I understood something super different. Leadership is about creating possibility. Every leader will face that special moment or that moment at one time. That safe decision or the bold promise. The question is not, is there a risk? The question is the impact worth it? Because excellence does not begin with certainty. It begins with a promise that scares you. Overpromising is not an exaggeration. It is a courage. A clear promise to create alignment, energy, purpose. And when leaders stand behind that promise with discipline and care, that's when all the teams, they rise and they rise and they rise again and again. And then expectations are met, even can be exceeded.